Hey, what's going on? It's Adam here, and if you haven't been to my channel before, I want to welcome you. And if you don't know about my background, I am a 7-figure entrepreneur, and I've dedicated my life's work to helping people find the smartest business strategies to grow and scale online. And as we go along that journey, we have to face ourselves. And today I want to talk to you about going from doer to delegator. How do you know if this video is for you? It's because maybe you have 15 different tabs open and you're managing all of these different hats in your business, and you're even answering DMs on the toilet. I'm calling out some of you here. So with that, a lot of times when you're growing a business, you're kind of like the CEO and you're also like an intern. You're managing you're the Zoom host to your Zoom rooms. You're managing your links, fixing broken links. You're managing your email list. You're managing the automations. You're doing Canva graphics, and you have all of these moving parts. It's almost like if you had a hat business, you're like sewing the hats, then you're like modeling the hats, then you're selling your hats on the webinars. And a lot of times you feel like you're committed, but really you're capped. No pun intended. But that's the reality, right, of being the entrepreneur. And it sometimes can feel so honorable, but really what it does is it prevents you from being able to grow to that next level. And so how do you know that you're stuck in doer mode? Here are a couple of signs. You said, I'll do it just real quick 6 times already today. You can't remember the last time you created without multitasking. Every time you're working on a project, you're also checking notifications and having another tab you're going into, and you have a hard time just stay focused on what you're working on. You check Stripe, Zoom, and Notion, and then you go check on your kids. And sometimes you do a better job at your tasks than even being able to spend time with family, because you have to do all these tasks, and it pulls you away from being the maybe parent or spouse that you want to be as well. Sometimes you even forget to eat, but that caption you wrote was fire. How many of you been there before, right? Where you know that you have just been spending so much time on like rewriting it, and then you look up at the clock and you're like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to eat today, right? So the goal is we want to be able to move from hustler to builder. Yes, I said it. Move from hustler to builder. And so the idea is that doing it all looks strong, but it does lead to burnout. And so we want to delegate. Delegation can look risky, but the reality is that it leads to results. And so in order to be able to make this shift in your vision, it's really an identity shift. And we have to look at some of the old patterns and how do we move that thinking into new patterns that can best serve you. And so if you were to think about this, like if we were to draw like a line down the middle of a piece of paper as an example, on the left side, that thought is no one can do it like me. And this thought keeps you in doer mode instead of delegation mode. No one can do it like me. Maybe you've tried to let go of tasks, and as you've let go of tasks in your business, it's actually taken you longer because the person you asked to do it didn't do the right job. And then you end up having to coach them or train them. And then you just figure, I'm going to do it myself because no one could do it like me. I remember having this thought, and it kept me in this cycle for so many years because I'm a business strategist. So in my mind, there's so many moving parts to a business. You have like the lead generation side and the branding side, and then you have the sales side, and then you have the business structure side and all the other pieces that go into running a business. And I'm like, there's no way I could train somebody and give my mind to somebody to master all of these things because no one can do it like me, right? And so one of the things that I had to do is I had to learn how to create playbooks. And as I began to create playbooks and document my system on how I run things, then the thought is if I can teach it and document it, then I can trust it. So now as I handed off that task, I'm able to give it to somebody who can work from the playbooks, systems, and frameworks that I've created, because if I can teach it, I can trust it. And so on the other side of the piece of paper, a new thought would be, if I can teach it, I can trust it, right? The next thought that holds us back in an old way of thinking that keeps you in doer mode is, I'm saving money. Oh, if you only knew how much this thought cost you and that it's keeping you from delegating. I'll tell you what it's costing you. It's costing yourself all of your momentum. I remember thinking that I was saving money because I was doing it all myself, because I was keeping a lot of the profit. But I ended up hiring one person that changed my entire perspective. I was around 250,000, and I hired a girl to service all of my clients. At this time, I was running my branding agency, so I was intaking all the brand information. I was, getting what they wanted their website captions to be, what bio they wanted in their website, what color layout, and I was the person then working with the developer to get it built, and I was the guy that all the clients were meeting with for their brand. I ended up hiring one amazing hire, and it was very scary for me because I had never trusted anyone to work with my clients in this way, and she was magical. She ended up being able to hold space for $500,000 of clients, and I got out of the fulfillment role. That is when my business exploded, because I realized as long as I'm in the business, then I can't work on the business. And that is a key mindset to shift, is that I'm costing myself momentum. It's not that you're saving money, you're costing yourself momentum. We got to get you in momentum. Another one is, I'll just handle it for now. And what happens is this actually steals your time from what actually scales. And so what happens is, like, there's these lever points that drive business, right? And Forbes came out with an article that the top millionaire CEOs spend 80% of their time selling. But most solopreneurs spend their time in product creation and business development. And if we were to draw out these, kind of like this quadrant here, so I'll go ahead and do this here. Let me put this, there we go. So if I were to draw out this quadrant here, what happens is most people spend their time in business development. So we'll put biz development here, biz dev. So what is biz dev? It's like spending time creating the Canva graphics for your social media. It's working on your product and figuring out ways to make it better. It's working on, your next, your next post that you're going to put up. Like, a lot of the building aspects. People love the creation of the vision, right? And they get stuck there. And then there's the operations of the business. And this is where you're managing, like, billing, customer support, you're managing the agreements, you're typing up the agreements, right? You're the one doing it all. These activities are linear and they do not explode the business, right? That's why a lot of times you have really great products, but then nobody hears about them, and so then nobody buys it, because you spend all of your time in linear mode with business development and operations, but that's not actually what grows the business. So what grows the business is what we call strategic campaigns and leadership development. And so these are what exponentially grow the business, right? What you want to be able to do is free yourself up to do this magic word, think, because it's the ideas, the right ideas, that move the needle of the vision forward, that allow you to put together strategic campaigns and put the people in place to run it so that your business can take off, right? But we get in this mode where we just stay stuck in business development and operations, and that's where it's frustrating, because you know that you've created this amazing product or this amazing program, but not enough people know about it. And it's like a silent suffering, because you continue to stay in this loop of generating leads, helping the client, doing it all because you think no one can do it like you. I'll just handle this myself. I'm just going to save myself money. But really, it's costing you momentum. It's costing you scaling. It's costing you so much of your time in doing busy work that doesn't lead to breakthrough. And that's what I want to be able to see you break free from. And so if you're editing reels in CapCut, or you're writing your own email sequences in bed at 11:48 p.m. trying to get that last email sequence out, if you're manually onboarding all of your clients, or you're managing payments when a client doesn't pay, oh my gosh, you should, by the way, never manage client payments if somebody doesn't pay, because if you try to hold them accountable to payment, you will be the bad cop. There's no win for you there. If they're going through a hard time and you still make them pay, oh my gosh, it's over for your relationship with that client. So you've got to be able to have an enforcer, somebody who can manage the billing, that can be the one to enforce the agreements, because if you're the one doing that, oh, the client is not going to like you. That's why I always tell my clients, I'm here to be your coach. I'm here to support you in your goals, but if you have billing questions, go talk to the billing department, right? They're going to be the ones to help you with that. The other thing is, maybe you still don't have a CRM because you still use spreadsheets because you think they're fire, okay? So we got to be able to stay up to date with technology. And sometimes when you're doing everything, you can't work on what's moving now, what's working now. You start falling behind because you just have too much stuff going on. So you're really not running a business, you're running a circus, and there's like no applause or recognition, but you feel somehow that it's commitment, but it's really being capped. How to bring that back. Okay. So at the end of the day, delegation is not lazy, it's leverage. Delegation is not lazy, it's leverage. I mean, even Jesus sent people out 2 by 2, right? There's Elijah and Elisha. And Elijah had to give the cloak to Elisha, and that's a delegation mantle. And that's something you should be praying for, is the ability to have eyes to delegate things. And so you don't see Steve Jobs designing, when he was building Apple, he wasn't designing the Apple iPhone boxes, right? He stayed in his lane, and Wozniak stayed in his lane, and they delegated the rest. So what are some things that you could do? The reality is you don't need to be full-time in your business to start delegating, and you don't need to have a big bank account to start delegating. Sometimes when maybe there's a client who maybe can't afford your program, and you give them a partial scholarship to be able to do the work maybe for a little bit less, and in exchange they can trade time and start helping you delegate some tasks. And so an action item for today is just write 3 things down that you can delegate, maybe that are $20 an hour, that you could begin to outsource, that's stealing your energy. We call those energy leaks. They're stealing your time, right? And so your goal is to be able to delegate these tasks so that you are not stuck with a list of to-dos, but you could start working on to-dos. Come on, who doesn't want some more to-dos, right? So we want to be able to do that. So what are some things that you could begin to delegate? Managing your inbox, posting content that you've already written, editing reels with your templates, sending calendar invites, following up with warm leads, prepping Zoom links. Just pick one to delegate this week. And what I want you to do is I just want you to be able to delegate it, test it, learn, see what's working, and then keep going, right? And the goal is that every role has to pay for itself, because it's now giving you the time back to work on things that actually matter. And as you get used to this, you're going to start seeing more and more momentum, and you'll start believing in people. And that's ultimately what holds people back from staying in doer mode, is they don't believe in people. So they do it all themselves. And one of the qualities that I dream for you to have is to believe and trust in people. A lot of times they say that no one will care about your vision as much as you. I don't find that to be true. I have an amazing team. Many of them have been with me for 7, 8 years. They pour into the vision. Sometimes when I can't even be there, they're running the show, and they're so talented and so gifted, because people understand that you can build something greater together than you can apart. And that's part of building a winning team. So if you can't afford it, trade time, offer something in return, but don't stay stuck because it's costing you too much, okay? So delegating isn't quitting, it's scaling. And so I want to be able to share this verse with you as we wrap up here. Is plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. That's Proverbs 15:22. Proverbs 15:22. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. So I want to be able to wrap up and pray for you guys wherever you're at. And let's dive into prayer. So God, I just thank you so much for every single listener, viewer that's on wherever they are, in the car, the radio, the gym, home office. You know the vision that's in their heart, God. You know the gifts that you've given them. And I just pray a complete breakthrough, and that they will have an awareness to see roles and tasks that they should be delegating, that they will have a courage to let go and a release of control, because they trust that you're bringing people into their world to handle the weight, because they were never meant to carry it all, and that you would release the weight and the burden that is on them for all the tasks they're doing. You see all the different parts that they're leading in their business and in their life, And God, I just pray that you would allow them to be freed up to work on the business instead of just being so focused in it, because you're calling them to the next level. You're calling them into increase. You're calling them into greater growth. And so I pray for greater stewardship, greater capacity over the vision you've given them, and that they will be able to have eyes to see what they should delegate next so they could step into their next level of growth. Thank y'all. Amen. Hey, thank you so much for listening today. And if you want to be able to sit in on one of our mastermind experiences, I'm going to drop a link to that below. You can't actually buy anything during this workshop, but if you just want to sit in because you like this kind of conversation and you want to be in a room that can call you into that next level, then I want to be able to invite you to sit in one of our upcoming workshops. They're completely free, and I think that they will bless you greatly, and it would be an honor to host you if it's a fit for you to be in the room. So go ahead and put that description below. And as just a reminder, let's go from doer to delegator. I'm believing for that breakthrough for you, and I hope this message helped you increase today. See you guys next time.